Hi team, welcome back everyone. Hope you all can hear me okay. Let's get going. Continued with our session 2 for our day 1. A quick recap on session 1. What we did is some basics on manual, and we need to now look at how we get into basics of automation and understand the thumb rules there. And we did write the test cases manually, but we're going to do a lot through automation. So primarily, the whole concept of automation relies on the fact that how we teach a tool to be able to understand our steps that we perform manually and repeat them by its own self without any interference team. So that's primarily what we are seeking. We can teach automation tool or robot, think of it like that, to execute the same manual steps. So the most important concept is why should we move towards automation, move from manual to automation. And this is where I talk about the thumb rules team. The primary reason is very simple. There are three things: E, R, and A. The first one is efficiency. It needs to be more faster and easier to maintain than manually. I'll share the Google Drive folder later. Is that fine? For now, just focus on the screen and what I'm doing, please. Take notes also that. Let me share it since it's fast. Link. Putting it in the chat for all. Closed. Can someone put it also in the Skype group team for me? Where others also have it. Okay. Let me focus back on the session. It's critical for me. Where am I? So next is reusability, and we will gonna talk a little bit about that. There we build once, but run many times, and that's critical team. Maintenance again becomes an important aspect here. Last one is accuracy. When we talk about should be more predictable and dependable and manual testing. So with these 3 points in mind, let us take that look. So this is more on manual QA, the how we work. So for manual testing, we've been focusing a lot on a human and saying that a human knows how to execute. And we are looking at a test case that looks something like this. Says where any of us who kind of go into sorry, me just put a border around them team. Okay. All about this. Okay. So any of us as manual test engineers know what each step means and are able to execute. So looking at this shape, we are able to do. So these minimum steps are enough for any human team, and that's fine. Now, when it comes to an automation, it's slightly different out here. Okay. So for automation, they need even more precise details. Once we give that information to it correctly, then we are in a position to achieve efficiency, reusability, and accuracy. So what does that mean? The only two basic questions that a robot will ask, okay, Karthik, you want me to execute all of the steps on the application. I can understand, if I understand what you wrote here, I will go to the application, open up qaonair.com, let's say for now on a Chrome browser, and click on see all freelancers and perform these steps. Now, that is where Selenium IDE comes for us. And let's go to the homepage for Selenium, which is now selenium.dev. It was seleniumhq.org earlier, but they kind of changed it to selenium.dev. So what we are looking at is Selenium IDE team. Here is where I want you to start with talking about the download section. And there is a lot that you will see here on grade, IE, driver, and so on. But if you scroll down, you'll also see the Selenium IDE out here. You notice this team? So in this page, as you scroll somewhere to the middle, starts with grade, then some driver explorers, programming bindings, and then Selenium IDE. What you're looking at is the latest version for Chrome. So these are built in as an add-on for your browser team. So it does not require, it does not come as an external software that you need to install on your local machine. It stays on your browser. So if it was not on my browser, then you would notice that it would say add to my browser also. Now this is one step. I want you all to do it at your end and let me know how it works. So you're primarily going to downloads and be able to install. If you're doing it parallelly right now, that's great. It should not take too long. If anyone is facing an issue, let me know. It's getting a little cold in here, team. Give me a second, please. Facing an issue on the download, just keep me posted. Now, once this is done, let us understand what Selenium IDE does to us. Let's start with the first feature where Sel IDE can do record and /playback. So that's an important aspect. Now, to do all of this, we need to understand the Selenium IDE UI. What does UI stand for, team? User interface. As to where is what button, where do we have to click on that application, what should we do, and so on. So for example, this is the UI of this Chrome web store. Now, if I click on the Selenium IDE that is installed as an add-on onto your browser, you would be able to open that. Now, this primarily is what you would see, team. I'm not sure if it's the latest version, but we're in the 3 series of Selenium IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment, where primarily easy to write, run, and manage programs. That's what integrated development environment is. It's not necessarily built for testing. We also happen to use it for testing. Selenium IDE is specifically for testing. Right. Now, Selenium IDE is the name of it, and it's the integrated development environment. Like similarly, Eclipse IDE. Anyone in this group who's feeling that, oh, you know what, too many terms? If you do, just to let you know that things will get easier as we go along. We'll keep reusing them. So we here, team, we're going to do the first thing as the record a new test in a new project. Let us play around with this. Then we will talk about a few more things. So step 1 is to record. learn. And as I finish most of these, I will find gold and learn Selenium ID by recording the. Then next is edit, yes, build own tests without record. And I think these are the three things I would want to cover, team, as much as I can in the next few minutes. And post that, let's give it a check. We are here. So then I think we will talk about Eclipse, installing Eclipse and WebDriver in Java. I think even that portion we'll be able to touch today. So ready, everyone? Record a new test. Now let's give it a name. Whenever we start the record, that's what it wants you to do. Initial versions of Selenium ID did not have all these pop-ups and so much interaction with the user. More newer versions have been doing it. I've been working and training on QTP and Selenium for the last decade. Selenium more maybe 7-8 years, but UFT, QTP for the last 11 years at least. So I've seen these applications change, and it'll be nice to always have a timeline for applications change. Anyway, all right. So I'm giving it a name, team. I'm just going to say this is QA on air, and I'm going to click on this. And the first thing that we talk about is our application under test, and these are all web-based application only. Note that, please, everyone. We are only in here. Selenium primarily web-based only. There are add-ons like other things for other applications that we can use with Java and so on. Selenium is primarily a web-based, and hence there needs to be a URL that it can go to. And in our case, our URL is QA on it. I said that is where I start recording. Now, as soon as I click on start recording, it opens up a new browser by itself. Did you notice this? And it also has the Selenium IDs recording out there. I'm going to maximize this window, team, just for a little bit more clarity. And do note that there is some recording that may be happening here. The window kind of changed. I see a red highlight here, and that's about it for now. Let's record a few steps. So I go here and I scroll down and I click on see all freelancers. And did you notice that recorded click came in here? And I want to type UFT and I hit enter. And then it actually changed. See, 187 profiles available. And if I changed it to UFT and then hit enter, see, team, there are no checks here where, how do I say, for clicking on saying that, okay, search, it is just a keyboard enter. And we're getting that generated. Now, what is happening primarily is our Selenium IDE is noting all this text. It may not be as simple looking as the ones we wrote in Excel, but predominantly it is going in the same structure. Each step, what it is doing, and what information it wants. So let's look at it. So here is my test. It is still in a recording mode unless I stop this recording or maybe even close the browser. And let's give it a name. Let's say QA OA. What was the name of this that we already had? So that way we don't have to create something new. This is n2 underscore search tc01. n2 underscore search. I'll just call this tc01. Okay. Because I'll talk about where we can put them. So see, in this project QA on air, I have one test case now. And this test case is primarily find freelancer UFT. So I can rename it if we want to. Find free underscore UFT. Fair enough? And now that has been created for us under the product QA on air. So this is QA on air. I can always say that, hey, you know what, a module in it. Just like we're talking about a module structure where an application under test can have many modules. Each module will have many test cases. Each test case will have many test steps. So that's the flow team. When we're talking about overall automation. So we're learning that flow. In here, they're saying something little similar. Project is like a application or a module. In that, I have different tests created. So this each one is like a test case. So if I have more test cases, it'll basically be able to give us more abilities. But anyway, recording done. Now I'm going to run this thing. So let's run it as is. I'm not going to look deep into it. It launched the application. It's navigated. It's waiting for the page to load. It has clicked on the next page. It typed UFT and it typed UFT again. And execution seems to be done. I want you to all focus, and I'm going to explain the UI, the user interface of this application. UI primarily is what we see as a user, what we click on and use. So there are three sections to it. So there is your test cases and whatever you want in projects out here. Actually, four. There is this execution area where I can save, open, record, run tests and so on. There is the actual detailed test steps out here with an additional window. And then there is a log and a reference at the bottom. This is the UI overall. Now let us see what we need to use, how many we need to use. It is one of the most simpler applications with not too much complicated UI. So it's got a very straightforward user interface. 1 second. One second, team. All right, team, let me continue on this now. So, where are we? So we created this recording using this IDE team. Now, Selenium IDE helps us to do a few things. One, record tests. You make any changes, you can save it. And here is where we are executing tests. So I recorded one test. Why don't we record one more test similar? But this time also the test case is 02 underscore find free underscore Selenium. So now that's my new test case. There are ways to copy these steps from here to there. We have not gone into the depths yet, but find free Selenium. So what do I want to do? I want to record this again. So I say start recording. It goes to the website always to begin with. Why? Because that's my base URL that we get. So your base URL is the first one that it navigates to on your browser in which your Selenium IDE is present. You see how it learns and understands everything? I maximize the window team and let me scroll down again to see all freelancers. And this time I'm typing the word as Selenium. And I've got 1139 profiles available. In this case, what I will do, team, I'm going to highlight this code. Right? Sorry, the text. Do you see what I did? It is still recording and I just highlighted. If you right click, if you right click on it, you would then notice since Selenium IDE is recording, a new option here called Selenium IDE. This browser was opened by Selenium IDE. It has control to it, and a right click also shows some features you can do there. all I want you to do is say verify that this text exists. That's my test. And then I close. So there are my two test cases now all done. So I save this. It's my QA on air overall. Let me put it into SDET March. So basically the format is side, it's Selenium Ide. Earlier, very beginning, it was HTML format in a tabular and so on. This has got multiple test cases into it. So that's done. I don't need a scan there. Oh, this recording is still going on, team. I'm sorry, I need to stop because a lot of times it does not, how do I say it? It keeps adding more steps to it, whatever you keep doing on the browser. So I have two tests. So click on the first. I can see the first test has 12 steps to send keys. Okay. The second one has 15 steps, in fact, to close. I'm not sure what those extra steps really are, but we'll figure it out. Maybe I was clicking too much on each of them and it was capturing. Captures your keyboard and mouse commands, understands and stores info on what and how to do next time without manual intervention. That is what it is trying to do. It is always something that is looking at your instructions. Now let us execute this. If I run current test, it will run that one single test. Test is a test case. If I say run all tests in the project, whatever they should run. So let's see, it's going both of the cases, it will go to the website. There are only a couple of steps, in fact. Why did it have not couple, but maybe 6-7 steps? And we will now try and understand what is it that it did while the recording happened. I think that was the first one for UFT. It's doing a lot of things, team, and that's a good thing for us. And I mean, in terms of execution, a lot of things in sense. So, but the fact is, yes, it's going fast. You can always reduce the test execution speed to something more manually seeable. But let us focus on understanding what is it that it has done, so we can switch forward into additional stuff. So most importantly, thing is what to do, where to do, any data that is required to execute that step. Think of it this way: if I need to teach my automation tool to perform, it does not have any knowledge by itself, but it can do tasks that I ask it. It's almost like saying move forward 4 steps, turn right, move forward 2 steps, turn left, move forward 3 steps. It forms one pattern, it goes to a specific position. The instruction that you're giving, like move forward, move left, and so on, uses what, how, any data to execute. So any step has to be broken down into these 3 portions, and that is what IDE also does. Your command is a list of inbuilt words that Selenium Ide comes with, like open, click, send key, set window size, type. That is the what we want to do. See? Okay. Now the where is you and I, when we see the application and say search for freelancers or type in keyword, I can look at it and see and do it according to that. But For a system like this, it does not know if this is keyword field or this is keyword field or this one or this one or this one. So it needs a specific identifier thing, like location, like a IP address, like a social security number, and that's the target. Next is you need test data, like for example, I'm typing UFT or I'll type Selenium, and that is important for us. In this case, we're also doing something called as a keyboard enter command, where we are using the keyboard to enter. I don't have a click button after I type UFT. So these are the commands that is building this test for us. Let's rerun them once again. Take these highlights off, but understand, read through this lines first, team, and try and rerun them again. Since the first command is open, and let's click on open, you would see what the command is here. You have a chance to change it if you want out here. So anything that you see, command target value, command is what to do, target is where to do, value is test data. Recording this? Yes. I got scared. You cannot edit it in this line. This is your edit box. So this is view. This is edit each line. So let's say this set window size. I don't want it. I can always delete it here. Right click and say delete the command. So any command that I feel is not relevant, then I will delete it. See what it did. If you can try and read it from an English perspective, it went to open, then set the window size, click something. And here the identification is saying the target is linked text. See all freelancers. ID for name, yes, CSS class. We have linked text, much text. We have text up. We have tag, is it? Maybe a couple more things. But the concept is very simple. The way applications in HTML are built, if you right click anywhere and say view page source, you would see the entire HTML content. You notice this? Now, so many lines of code is there for generate this output on the page. Some of this content could be protected from you itself. But a lot of content is usually public because it has to be shown at your end as well. Otherwise, how will you see that application in your system? So now almost 2000 lines of HTML code is in there. So what Selenium does is it navigates through the document object model. What's called as DOM. Primarily in this case, we are talking about in HTML, which is our hypertext markup language, and each object within it is considered an element. Okay. Now, I'll give you a very simple explanation, team, of how I so let's say I have my robot in place. Okay, and the robot is standing here. And I have a yellow ball here, I have a green ball here, I have a blue ball here, and a purple ball here. Oops. I have another blue ball here. I have another yellow ball here. I have Another green ball here. Let me undo and find it. Okay. Now, look at it. From a robot's perspective, there are two things. Okay. What to do is easy. We will talk about it later, but not how. Where. Where to do is the challenge. Now, this robot needs to, let us say, just check any of these. And I say, check the green circle. Now, there is a problem for this robot. This green circle and this green circle are the same size. Then how? I have to say, check the upper green circle. And this is okay. When I say, check the lower, smaller yellow circle, that's fine. Then I say, check the bigger blue circle. Then it does this. So it needs to identify objects. In our case, that is all there in a web application. And they're there as text or fields or radios or drop downs. So what it does is basically uses different methodologies. Methodologies that we will master are all out here, element identifiers, to be able to identify which elements in the web application. To do that, it looks at the HTML code. You and I humanly cannot go and look at every code. So what it does and what we will learn a little bit more advanced tomorrow is how it recognizes that it has to type here. Let us understand that concept so it's easy to relate to. Why did it not type UFT here? Why did it not type here? Why did it type here? So right click on it, the field, and say inspect. Every browser today has this team. When Selenium Ide first came, it was only working with Firefox, and the inspect element also, we used to have it as an additional plugin or an add-on, where like a fire bug and so on, fire path you have to use to get this information. Now it's inbuilt team. You will see a lot of tabs here, but I'm not too interested. The fact of the matter is when I say inspect that element, it will go to that specific portion of that HTML code. There it sees this field being displayed. What should it do? What should it contain? How big should it be? And so on. All the details are here. And right above that, I see keyword also. Do you see that highlight? As I take my cursor over each of the code, it will show me where that is. Now, this is the code itself, team. I right click again and I copy the outer HTML. So in that code, which is pointing to my element, right click, copy outer HTML. Now that is done. Let me take it into a notepad. This is what the content is. I'm splitting it into new lines. That way it's pretty easy for us to navigate. Very simple basic information about HTML. It starts with HTML input the tags and ends with this greater than symbol. So that's our HTML. So HTML tag attribute name equals attribute value. Now, for example, what do I mean? Circle color equals blue, size equals big. So that is one circle. Now, another circle, if I say, please understand, this is not something HTML understands. This is something you and I, we will understand. Okay. It's only for our understanding. Now I'll say this is small. And going back to a circle, so each of them is referring to different objects because of what we're giving as the size, and that's the variation. Now I'll change this size. The color is green, correct, green, and again another green. Now see, look at my code. These two are different. These two are same. Then how? Then it will talk about the order in which. Primarily, it is containing what type of an object it is and what it can do. And that is also the basic of object-oriented programming system. I'll just explain OOPS in a very simple manner. Help us to identify. Everything that we want to do in the world, we want to call it as an object. An object is a real example of something of a class. Let us talk about, for example, this circle. It is an object. Now, the circle can be identified by using the color or the size or maybe the position of it. And on a circle, what I can do is I can erase the circle, or let us say I can copy it. Now, there is a different object to the object altogether. And here, this time, let us say it is a home. So, are you all with me? Am I boring anyone? Because a lot of interesting things are coming up also to me. Can I get a confirmation, team? Are you all with me? Now we're talking about a home. Home primarily has, how do you identify a home? You have your zip code, you have your address, right? And that's basically how you can get to, and sometimes unit numbers too. And then what can you do with the home? You can rent your home, you can buy a home, you can live in a home, you can work from a home, you can play in home. There's so many things we could do. Now, see, this belongs to homes and this belongs to circles. So different types of objects. The primary thing that one needs to identify is the type of object decides how I should identify what I can do with it. Type of an object defines how I can identify or recognize and what I can do with that. Now for automation testing, it needs exactly that content. How it can automate how it can find it and what it should do along with it. How are we doing, everyone? Now, let me erase this off. So this is good. This is good. Back to here and a little about element identifiers. And now let us look at this text itself that we copied. Okay. So the one that we copied here, see, it says input. Oh, like circle, like a circle, or like a cell phone, or like a home. There's an object called input. Input is like an input field where you can type text. So that is what it is. I have so many things. I have class, ID, type, name, placeholder, and class. So all of these are there with the values. We can use any of these to try and identify if it is unique. ID is S, name is S. Now, how about the other elements that are there in the page? Let's try this. Inspect. That is also input, but ID is skills, and it doesn't have a name attribute. I'm looking at this content here. Your ability to start inspecting these elements and master it is highly key to your success in QA automation. Please remember. Here I see ID is budget. Now, if you go back to our IDE Selenium, now you'll understand. Open is to open the website. If I click on the reference tab here, team, we won't spend too much time on IDE. Just for good knowledge and idea, then we'll go to coding. Opens a URL and waits for the page to load before proceeding. There's a good reference for you to refer. Any command that is there that you can see are all in here. And if you delete it, you have the ability to change And here is the list of everything. So let us say assert text. If I just changed it by any chance, then it will say, what it can do, what you need to give as information, and how it works. There's a lot of playing around that we can do, team, but for now, let's keep things as they are. Now let us understand. Opening, okay, set window to this size, and click link with the link text see all field access. That is what it is searching for. And then I'm saying click ID equals to S. Where is ID equals to S? That's the one. Right click, inspect. We already did that. And we see ID is S. If the ID is not unique, then we will think about it. How does it mean? Let us say the same thing. Green circles, I have two of them. Maybe I'll say which is first, which is second. But as of now, the ID is maybe different. And see what it did. First, it clicked on it. Then it typed ID equals to SUFT. Then it said send keys. And then again it clicked on it. Again clicked on it. Double clicked on it. Typed UFT, key enter, and nothing. So basically, if you notice all of these steps, do you think they're mandatory, team? I think I'm done with sending keys here. Why do I need these steps? Let's just delete them. I'm just hitting my keyboard delete key, team. And these are my only few steps. And let's run this. I'm only running that test case. But see, this one is, I don't know if it is closing my browser at the end. Let's see what it does. You see also the color changing in the HTML code, team, as it navigates through, and it does, and it's kind of performed all those tasks. And I could achieve this in 6 steps, team. That's cool. Now, the same thing in Selenium, again, it took a lot of ones. I don't know why, but there was one step that we added. Remember verify text? Let's try and delete some things that are not necessary. Open, fine. Set window size, fine. Click on the same. Click on the same field. Type on the same field. Send keys. That is keys underscore enter. We'll look into a lot of these values, team, as we keep going. There's a bunch of them, like caps lock, tab, shift, each keyboard command, and so on. And I'm constantly clicking on the css.plural. I don't know what the css.plural is. See, this is the other way of identifying, which we are yet to get. Okay, CSS or class. So how did it identify? When the results come here, if I right click this and say inspect, I see that it is come here, and the class under which it came was .plural. That is what I believe it took. Why didn't it take found underscore post? Can someone tell me? This is where you'll notice what is surrounded by what. What I want is 187 profiles available, the whole thing. If it is only 187, focus on this team. Then I can say class is found underscore post. But here I see that I have 187 here and profiles available here. And they all come under one called view. We'll explore a lot more on this team. So just basic so that we can start to use them. That is where it kind of gave us .plural as picking that. I don't believe I need to be clicking on them so many times. Actually, I don't need to click on it even once. After I send keys, I'm expecting this and close. Now let us rerun this 2 steps testing. The only difference is there's a close command in the second one. But even otherwise, I think it should be closing for the executions. So it didn't close the first one, but it's gone to the second one at this point. Does it maximize? I don't think it. And here we also have verified text, and that's an important one for us to know. Right? So the fact that I got what I expected and I could do all of this tells me that my log, which is what I kept executing, as greens. Everything is okay. It did not face any issue with anything. But for example, I changed certain things. So here, instead of see all freelancers, I will type a bad link as a link and try and execute this test. Now let us observe what happens to you. Your skill on automation will consistently improve if you do a few more exercises on IDE and then we proceed to WebDrive. So do practice on this team the way I'm showing you. Do it at your end. I'm doing few scenarios. I want you to do play it around with many more. Use any application that you want. Okay, where are we? So see, it's not able to move forward there, and it's trying its best to maybe find a link that you click on. It's still on line 3. I've not done anything. And there you go. Finally, it gives up saying I had an issue and it could not go further. And that's the other thing, team, that we constantly look at, because we need to know what is going right, what is going wrong, and why is it. So now let us go back to the test. So that's right now showing the one that is executing. Let's stop this test. What are the exceptions? No, stop. It's already stopped. And select the overall tests here. So I had an issue with the first one. Let's look at the second one here and say all this is good. Instead of 1139 profiles, I'll say 1555 profiles. So I changed my content of that test data. What I'm expecting, what I'm getting. And team, that can change anytime. Please do know. Team, I'm getting towards another break time. Just wanted to check any questions so far, please, before we head towards a break and meet in the next 10 minutes again. And each of this go as separate video sessions. That way you'll have some good content to go back to. So there we go, team. Now the failure has come for us out here, but the fact that it still went at the next step is important. Actual value was this and did not match what we were expecting. So here is where our results start getting more visual and it is more precise as to where and how it has come. And this is how a tool is doing. Versus we documenting here, which is still maybe abstract, and then we have to write down the results. But the structure is the same. What to do, where to do, any test data. For a human, we don't need to really specify where. What to do is the same action. I'll say, you know what, Sam, go click here, do that, open this URL, check if this balance is there, do that. That's possible. But for a tool, I can do instructions like click, move, do that, do this. Where should it do that is an important one. And that is where we'll keep advancing on element identification. Now, see, I have verified text css.plural is this, right? Why don't I try and add a similar step even for find free UFP? First of all, this was search freelancers. Search for freelancers. Not sure uppercase, lowercase. How is it on this? So here I want to add my own command. So for all this was record. We just did some basic editing. So I'm going to what I can't add insert new command. I want to insert it. Okay, there we go. Insert another new command. I'm just right clicking their team and just doing that insert. The first one that I have is I want to do a verify text. So there's a space, it's got enough content for me with the reference to tell me what it is. Soft assert, the text of an element is present. We'll talk about asserts, soft and hard asserts and how they fail. Also from a programming perspective, we're going to do this. Now, target is where here is where I could use two options. If my application is open, I could search for it by using this feature here, select targeting page, or I can just look at how I did the previous one and repeat it here. CSS equals dot includer. And what is the text that I'm verifying here? Something similar, but not exactly the same. This is 1139, right? The correct value. And here, see value. Oops. Let's set 125. What was that that comes out? Profiles available. All right, so I've changed my tests and each of them went through those changes. And I don't know why it asks me to change it each time. That's fine. We'll make different version of it. And let us run all these tests. Oh, stop. Stop, please. Yes, I didn't add one more command. So make sure I have that. For the first test itself, I also wanted to say, let's close the browser once it is done. Let's not keep it end something else. I don't think close command requires anything else as inputs, the target or value. But if I'm not sure, I can check with another test case that already is using or do a simple record and run. So close, and that's it. I don't need 9 and I can delete. Oh, and let's run that. Team, after this run, we will take another few minutes break. Come back for session 3. We'll write a couple of our test cases. Then I want to show you how we can do the same using Eclipse and Selenium WebDriver. And team, there's one question. I'm not sure if I want to do a session tomorrow or take a break so that everyone is able to get into the session correctly. We'll meet again on Wednesday. That means we will finish instead of on the 3rd, we will be finishing on the 6th of April. Okay, there we go. So the first test case seems to be all good. No. So, see all freelancers. There we go. Team, if you're noticing it and I'm making a mistake, comment please. See all freelancers. Is this what it is then? Link text equals see all freelancers, then find is correct. Only this one is an issue. I just want to run this test case once, rerun this. All right, team, I'll see you back in about 10 minutes. It's 11:18. Let's make it 11:30 or 11:35, something like that. And we continue with the session. Thank you all for pulling this through. And I hope you're getting the concepts clear as to how we are approaching. In the next session, we'll play a little bit more on IDE and then go to WebDriver with See you in a few minutes. Bye.